All right. I'm super duper excited to welcome my friend Amanda Steinberg to the show. Welcome to Hello Freedom. You're worth it. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about your
I
life.
think that's the best introduction I've had in a long time. You just sang. And you have this like jazz club bass line voice too, which made it even better.
Right on. I'm so excited about this book. And you and I know each other and we've been friends. This is something that's been a long time in the making. I'm a part of your community, and so are so many people who are listening. But I think you've really done something super different with this book. Women have needed a female who understands women, how we think, how we are, how we've been trained in life to think about our finances.
Or
So I have
not
a
think
couple
about
of,
our finances.
what'd you say?
Or not think about our finances.
Well, that was my whole thing, was just never thinking, which because I've been crying to you for years, but everything that you put out has helped me become, like, I'm super literate now, Amanda, because of you. And I swear that is the truth, that I couldn't break through this desire not to know. Even though I'd had so many years of therapy, I couldn't break through some unconscious need for it to be my husband who figured it out or someone else. And after you and I talked, and there was an online course that you did a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, was it? And that shifted my unconscious mindset where I was like, oh my God, I'm the one I've been waiting for. Nobody else is coming. Like, I have to figure it out myself. And what we give up in not figuring it out, you know? So tell me
Yes.
what for you, what motivated you to write Worth It?
What motivated me to write Worth It was that I actually was raised to make sure I did pay attention to my finances, and I did, and I still screwed everything up. This was like 10 years ago. And even though I had been following all of the advice that was out there, budgeting, planning, setting goals, et cetera, the things that you hear over and over again, and I
Right.
tried to do those things, and they didn't work. So that was why I started Daily Worth about 8 years ago. And I did it really as a journey to say, what does work and what specifically works for women? And it took me 8 years, well, about 6 years, because I started to think about actually writing the book about 2 years ago.
Right.
Took me, that long to break down all of the structures, all of the paradigms, all of the ways in which people talk about and think about money, the ways in which particularly women are separated from certain aspects of the bigger picture financial conversation, and then figure out what does work, and then rebuild it, and then and first test it on myself, always tested it on myself. And then I built the course Money Clarity, which we've had about 1,000 women take over the years and watch it work and develop there. And then it was time to really turn it into a book. And fortunately, a few of the people I've sent it to have said, oh, it finally all clicks. It just makes sense now. And I'm like, thank God, because that's the whole point of the book.
Yes. So you talk about in the book, you really are handling sort of the sexism that has kept women out of this money conversation at higher levels. So can you just say a little bit more about that?
Sure. And I know I'm really backlit with the sun, so let me know if I need to
No,
move
no,
around. Okay.
If you look good. I'd say if you just go this way. Yes.
A little bit. All right,
Perfect.
good. Perfect. Um, so you want me to talk about the sexism?
A little bit, if you would.
Yeah. So essentially, the sexism around women and money really manifested in the 1850s, 1870s timeframe when the train enabled men to start commuting away from the home for work. And this is actually really important because before then, men and women did most things together. It wasn't until men started to leave for work that this idea of role differentiation became so much more distinct. And that was when money really, in particular, became a man's job, and everything domestic became the woman's domain. And from there, it became counter to being feminine. You weren't a good woman if you were thinking about money because that was a man's job. And that has, hundreds of years of impressions on our brains and our culture and our social narrative. So it just feels weird and wrong for us to think about money, and we don't even know why. That's why.
Wow. That's so amazing because it's so true. The work that I'm doing, the work that I do around love and all these other things, I talk about all these downloaded love blueprints. And I also talk about financial blueprints. And yet, because I'm a psychotherapist, I'm most focused or maybe interested in on the family of origin and how that impacts us. And yet, of course, there's always this greater culture, the greater tribe, these beliefs that are out there. It's almost like this collective agreement of you're not being a woman if you are. Now, do you see, because you've been so on the front lines of this, do you see this changing? Has it been changing?
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
That's what's going on right now is we're in the middle of an incredible shift. The problem is that I call it the shift from the good girl to the lady boss. The good girl is what women used to have to be. And now many of us, by choice or by circumstance, are in charge. Or it's either through a desire to be independent, a desire to not wrap up your long-term security with the man or the men in your life, or you have to because of a divorce or a death or something,
right?
Where suddenly you're the breadwinner, where you suddenly are responsible because you're the one who has all the money,
right?
And the problem is that there's actually a direct contradiction of character traits that are valued in the good girl and the lady boss. So we're in the middle of this transition right now, and we're acting like lady bosses, but we still think we're supposed to be good girls, and so we're stuck in between. And that's the mess that I'm helping women get through.
It's such an astute distinction from, and again, I mean, of course, Amanda, everything I look at, what do I look? I look through a therapist lens, right? Because I'm always thinking about.
My ex-husband and my current partner are both PhDs in psychotherapy, so I speak the language.
Yes, you do. It's so amazing, though, that distinction is so important. And I always say with women, right? They have the disease to please. I'm helping women cure themselves, recognize they have it, understand what does it look like, what are the traits if you have the disease to please, and how do you get rid of it? And one thing that I say, and this whole distinction speaks directly to that, is how being nice was a virtue as when we were being raised above all others if you were a woman raised in North America.
And I see it. It's ubiquitous in Daily Worth's It's this idea of valuing selflessness, where we are loved when we give ourselves away to others.
Yeah. And the truth, and I'm dealing with this right now. My Real Love Revolution course is actually starting on Wednesday. But the truth about this mindset is that from a therapeutic point of view, what I see is women who've been overgiving for decades and who are angry and bitter and feel very martyred.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, because they have been martyred.
Yeah.
And they were told that was how they get love and security, and it didn't turn out that way.
No. So the same way that I was just saying to you before we turned on the recording, that I feel like I was sold this bill of goods, which is what you really unpack and uncover and get super clear about in Worth It. This is the same thing with love. And I think that these parallel processes that are happening right now, we're hitting this tipping point where things are changing, and that our own beliefs, our own ability to see the truth, and it really is about not letting the patriarchy determine and decide how we will be in our bank accounts, in the bedroom, in our lives, in our marriages. It's us determining for ourselves is what I think is part of what's happening. So what feedback, I'm just curious now. So your book comes out February 7th. Super exciting. But there's ways that people can join now, because I just joined. There's a group hey, get in the group. And there's a bunch of things that are happening now, right, that people can, whatever. So this will come out probably right around that time. So you really do want to get this book, people. Trust me. But for now, what are you seeing people's reaction being? I've read all the, testimonials. There's tons of people saying that they love it. And there's all of this, what you're teaching has changed their relationship to their finances, as it honestly has for me. But what feedback are you getting that is surprising you?
It's not surprising. It's like, thank God I didn't waste the last year of my life writing this book, and that it actually is doing what it's supposed to do. So I have a friend who inherited some money at a very young age, and she is, and I've been talking to her about money for a long time, and it felt overwhelming, and it didn't make sense to her. That's what I've consistently heard from people, is that you're overwhelmed. There's too many accounts and there's too many transactions, and budgeting is, it just makes me feel like I'm bad and I don't have any willpower or any discipline.
Yep.
And what I'm hearing is what this book does is like, oh, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. Everything is clear. I know exactly what all of this means, and I know how to make this work for me. And I know you might not believe me if you haven't read the book, if you're listening to me say this, but I don't repeat any of the stuff that you've heard before. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat.
That's all right. It is early.
I don't repeat any of the stuff. And I'll give you an important concept from the book.
Great.
So one of the most significant concepts from the book is roots and wings. So when I was growing up, my mom didn't put any rules on me. And I found that to always be so strange. Like, Mom, why can I eat sugar cereal in front of the TV for 10 hours and you don't tell me not to? And she said, because, Amanda, I believe that the most important thing I ever give you is roots and wings. Roots to know that you have the security of a family who loves you, and wings, which are the confidence to go out in the world and do whatever you want to do. And I know you're going to get knocked around, but you know that you're going to be okay. And if I can give you those two things, I don't need to teach you anything else. And I was like, fascinating. So
amazing.
I know, right? Oh, Mom. And so what I do is in the book is I take that and I apply that to your finances. So first, I want to know, what are your roots? There's essentially 3 financial roots that you can have: an investment account, a home, or a business. All 3 of those things are equity. And just so you know, your retirement account is also an investment account. So I bunch those together.
Okay.
But what's important is not how you earn so that you spend, so that you have a little bit to save at the end of the month. That's not going to get you anywhere. What's important is that you think consciously about what roots you're building. Are you going to own a home? Are you going to own a business? Or are you going to invest in stock market type accounts? And if so, do you understand the lifestyle choice you're making as a result of doing that? And do you understand what actually makes that an appreciating investment as opposed to a liability? Because you can buy a house and you can start a business that ends up putting you in debt when you thought it was going to generate equity for you. So that's really at the heart of the book, is what are your assets and how do you turn them into appreciating assets so that you build long-term security for yourself? Because income is ephemeral. I don't care if you make 6 figures or 7 figures. If you're not turning any of that into equity, it's going to go away and it's not going to produce any sort of long-term security for you. And that is one of the critical aspects of the book, making that the centerpiece of your finances and your net worth, as opposed to thinking about how you're going to eke out a couple $100 every month while you grow credit card debt over here and everything is going negative.
Yep. When you taught me those years ago sort of about the whole credit card thing in a real way, and I guess I don't know why, but the way that you said it meant something. I completely got off that. I just was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. And I actually really stopped. And that was 3 years ago, where I was in such a bad situation. And I want to say something briefly, that this is something, and when you and I were sort of talking, because you and I are in this group of women who are all supportive of each other. We call ourselves the Crazy Sexy Women. We all know each other through Chris Carr. That's really how I met you first many years ago. That I was coming off this terrible experience that I really do blame on exactly what you're describing, how we're not taught anything about money, where I had this whole retirement account that was then embezzled by my husband's best friend, obviously former best friend. And so, you're talking about almost $500,000, and that never came back. And that was many years ago. Now, of course, that will get you to get your crap together around money, right? And that was when I remember you were doing that first launch, and you were allowing us to get involved with that group for 99, whatever it was. It was something where I had access to this material that was really changing my mind. And as scary as it was, there was something that I had read that you'd written about the whole earning potential thing, like getting out of that scarcity fear mind of like, oh my God, we just were robbed. We're never getting that money back. Well, that happened. Why did that happen? Because finances were overwhelming to me and I trusted someone I shouldn't have and whatever. I mean, this happens in life, and trust me, we're not the only people this has happened to. Obviously, hey, Bernie Madoff. I mean,
I was just about to say, was his name Madoff?
It was not, but could have been, because it was a very similar Ponzi scheme, which of course, after the Madoff thing, you're like, how did we not see that? But okay, it happens. Anyway, learning that process, focusing on what we could save, and looking at the investments that we did have sort of from this exact point of view that you're talking about, really shifted the mindset of what was possible and got me out of that sense of overwhelm. Because I know so many people listening, and I was going to say women, but I don't think it's just women. I think that there are lots of people, my audience and your audience are pretty much women though. So lots of women who feel this exact way, and there's a shame that comes along with feeling like you are not financially literate. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, of course you're going to feel shame, because you're like, I'm a smart person and I have it together in all these other areas of my life. How could I have let this happen to myself?
Yes.
And I got to tell you, the more I dig into everyone's personal finances, because that's what I do, the more I realize so many people are being taken advantage of and they don't know it. And you know why? The industry is built to confuse you on purpose.
Yes.
And that's why I had to start a financial services company, to not confuse you. It's called worthfm.com, and it is as transparent as they will ever come. And you can call me. I will ask Terri for my cell phone. I will explain to you exactly how we charge you and how it works and how to understand it.
But are we going to have links where people can actually okay, great. So you guys don't worry, on the podcast page, we're going to have every 7 million ways that you can get to Amanda and really become a part of this platform as well.
Yeah, and that's why I wrote the article at the new year, which is financial advice is broken, not you. If you feel guilt and shame, it's because en masse we have been taken advantage of, and very few people have made it accessible to the point where smart people can understand what's going on. The more I become part of the financial services industry, the more I start to see how this is a profit model. Yeah. And it's been made really inaccessible, and that's what I'm here to change. And you can understand it. Don't blame yourself. You are in the same boat with most people who don't understand where their money is and how it's invested and how it should grow, et cetera, and how you're being charged. End of story.
Right on. But it's actually end of story and the beginning of things changing, because the independence that comes from the recognition that, for me personally, that I was the one I was waiting for, and really had me unpack, like, what was that fantasy about something else? Like, why was that? And looking back, as you said, this is how we've been raised. This is how we've been socialized for not just decades, for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And it takes time. And I feel like every generation, I feel like your book is our generation of financial liberation, and that all you need is the desire to be free. And that the way that you are wording it, I know that if I can do it because of your help, that anybody listening can do it, Amanda. Like, I really feel like you've done something so revolutionary in this book, because I'm definitely your audience. That is for sure, So I really encourage people to get out there and get a hold of it and stop saying, I'm not good with money. That was like my mantra. Stop it. And then I would brag, but I know how to make it, so it's fine. Really?
I was the same person. I mean, please trust me.
Were you?
And it does not work. Yeah. No. I always thought that I'm a spender. That was my story before I started Daily. I'm a spender, but that's okay because I make so much money that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Same exact prison. It's the same prison.
Well, it's logical until you realize it doesn't work,
Right, until you realize it makes no sense.
It does, right, exactly, until you're like, wow, that logic thread does not actually correlate.
At all. Wow, I've been doing it my whole life. Holy moly. Hey, I wanted to say congratulations, because I understand that Fast Company named you one of their most creative people.
Isn't that cool?
It's so awesome. So tell us a little bit about that, because that's a very interesting thing to get named. One of your most successful, someone who's helped the most women get out of their money traps, sure, but creative. So what is that about? Tell us.
Yeah, I'm just so excited because I've never really hired anyone to do PR for us. So we get very little mainstream press attention. Now, we've gotten huge recognition from Forbes and from Oprah, so I can't say none, obviously.
Right. And important ones. Those are important ones too.
But whenever I get any sort of award, I'm like beside myself because it's not something I go after. So when it happens, it feels real.
Yeah.
And I think that Fast Company awarded this to me because they see that I am really disrupting an industry. And it's not just about making a banking platform pink at all. It's which is honestly even a cliche thing to say at this point. But I got to tell you, most of the folks in the financial services industry are like, pat on the head, Amanda. I hope it works because it's never worked before. Ladies, the entire industry is expecting you not to engage. They're expecting you not to buy my book. They're expecting you not to sign up for Worth FM or another investment platform. They're expecting you to go, oh yeah, that seems like a good idea, but I'm not going to do it, because there is this massive skepticism around whether or not women want to be independent as opposed to just wanting to be taken care of.
Wow.
That's the assumption. And so I think what Fast Company is recognizing that I may be contributing to a shift that is already happening. I'm not saying I'm causing a shift by any means. I am servicing a transition that is already in process and hopefully accelerating it and making it a little easier for women who are on it.
Right on. Well, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to be with us. And you guys, we will have all the information on the podcast page. And ladies, hey, get your financial intelligence on, people. I promise you, it will change your life as Amanda has changed mine. So thank you, my friend. I so appreciate it. And we will see you soon.
See you soon.